morning, Malta and Gozo, and welcome to another episode of Lovin Daily. I'm your host, Sam Vassallo, joined today by Jean-Paul Azzopardi. Today's episode is sponsored by Free Hour, which is Malta's largest youth platform with over 25,000 local students. And let's look at today's headlines. So, another tragedy in Maltese courts with a Godzilla man charged with drug trafficking stuck in court limbo for 7 years. A chilling international news report as a suspected mafia money launderer is heard laughing at Daphne Caruana Galicia's murder. Meanwhile, a historic moment in Brussels as a Maltese MEP stands alone in defense of Polish abortion laws. Rather worrying development as a Malta protest held against the draconian COVID-19 measures and 5G. And what were you watching last Sunday night? The father and son singing duo conquered their slip-up to qualify for the Malta Got Talent final. Let's begin, shall we?
Yes, absolutely. So starting with our first story today regarding Godzilla Man Christopher Bartolo, who has found himself embroiled in court proceedings and whatnot for the past 7 years now over after he was found with cannabis. He was caught with cannabis by police almost about a decade ago now. Cannabis he was taking while suffering from kidney disease. Bartolo, as a result of this, has been in and out of jail for the past 7 years or whatnot, and his court case is set to resume in January, where he may yet again be thrown in a jail cell. It's important to note here is that obviously Bartolo now is a new father. He was also, at the time he was caught taking cannabis, he was also suffering from kidney disease, which has since been operated on. He was stuck in jail for quite some time because of the fact that he was taking cannabis to help alleviate his pain from his kidney disease. He was eventually released following a extraordinary cabinet meeting, which allowed him to get out of jail on a humanitarian basis. He's since been out of the jail. He's started a family. His partner has started a new cafe. He wants to just get on with life, But unfortunately, the way the court system works here in Malta is he may yet again face another jail sentence with his court case set to resume in January. This case in general seems to be quite sad, but not uncommon for Malta with regards to people who are caught taking cannabis and over the past 2 decades or so, suffering major penalties for this and being incarcerated for years because of this.
Indeed, it's a super tragic situation. Unfortunately, as you said, it's not uncommon. In fact, it reminds us of the Mason Nels situation. May I remind you, he was arrested at just 16 in 2009, arrested for alleged drug trafficking, and his life has been stuck in limbo ever since. It's super unfair to penalize people for something like this. Reminds us of the father who was sentenced for abusing his children, and his sentence was shorter than the actual time of abuse.
Yeah, not even that. Let me mention one more thing, is the fact that there were some egregious violations of his human rights throughout this whole proceeding, where, in one case he was interrogated by police without his lawyer being present. At the same time, this interrogation happened just hours after he was in Malta Hospital for dialysis. He was in a weak and vulnerable state, so he's been treated very unfairly as a result of this whole process. And to see this going on, like I said, it's happened with Mason Nels, it's happened with Christopher Bartolo now, and it's sad to see that stuff like this drags out.
Super. So let's go into some more international news now. A suspected mafia money launderer was heard laughing at the Daphne Caruana Galizia murder. So an Italian businessman, Roberto Recordare, is under investigation for plotting to launder 136 billion euros to Italy's 3 main mafia groups. Now, in a phone tap by police, he's heard laughing about the Daphne Caruana Galizia murder. He actually has ties to Malta himself. He owns 2 businesses here and is allegedly reported to have a conversation with someone from Malta's military. Quite a surprise. I know that now there's going to be some court revelations as well concerning the Caruana Galizia case, right?
Absolutely. Jürgen's Fennick murder case is about to take a crucial turn this week, with his personal phone and other electronic devices set to be presented as evidence of a year after his arrest. Obviously, this time last year was a notorious arrest of Jürgen Fenech trying to escape Malta. Fenech's devices are currently in the possession of Europol, who are set to send officials to testify and present their evidence today and Wednesday. Lovin Malta will be following this very closely, live from the courtroom itself as the evidence is presented, and obviously some major revelations will come through, we hope, today and over the next week. Moving on to our third story of today. Maltese MEP stands alone in defense of Polish abortion laws. MEP Cyrus Endrer, who has over the past few weeks taken a firm stance in support of abortion, was the only Maltese MEP to stand alone and vote in favour of a resolution to condemn Poland's rollback of sexual and reproductive health and rights. The resolution was passed this week, stressed the EU's obligations to uphold the SRHR of Polish women, and after the Polish courts ruled that pregnancy termination in the case of fetal abnormalities was unconstitutional. Labour MEPs Josiane Kataria and Alfred Sant abstained, while Alex Ajus Saliba was not present or did not vote, whilst Nationalist MEPs Roberta Metsola and David Casa voted against the resolution. So Cyrus Endrer obviously, backed up his claims and backed up his position and stood strong to vote for this resolution, being the Maltese MEP to do so. Quite a progressive stance, quite a perhaps controversial stance for Maltese people, but kudos to him for sticking by what he believes and seeing it through on the European level.
Indeed. So may I remind you, a month ago, Polish courts ruled that abortion for fetal anomalies was unconstitutional, effectively banning 98% of legal terminations. And even though this is a huge rollback for women's rights, they are still more liberal than Malta's abortion laws. In Malta, we have a full ban on abortion, and the laws basically are at stake for women and their rights. I think it's quite ironic that the nationalist MEPs would vote against this resolution, especially since they take the rule of law situation in Europe and in Malta so to heart, and they're always voting in favor of these resolutions and pressing for them, when this is in fact a situation of a breach of rule of law as well, because the judicial system in Poland is not independent, and this is why something like this was allowed to happen. But I yield over there. On to our next story, shall we? And before that, let's cut to a video from our sponsor. On to our next story. So a rather worrying development happened over the weekend. There was a protest held in Valletta against the draconian COVID-19 measures and also the potentially harmful effects of 5G. So it was organized by the Malta Natural Health Alliance community. There were dozens of protesters that showed up with placards saying, I demand to know the science behind the COVID-19 measures being taken by Superintendent of Public Health, Charmaine Gauci. I refuse to be a lab rat for this 5G experiment. The group have actually filed a judicial protest against Charmaine Gauci and the measures taken by government. It seemed that they were against the potential treatment of COVID-19, the vaccine that should be rolled out in the coming months, and also 5G. Now, Charmaine had responded to this potential protest, which actually did happen at the end, and said, COVID-19 is real. We've had to take these measures in order to save lives. I guess Malta is now joining the rest of Europe and the world with these COVID-19, people who think it's a hoax and against the vaccine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think a lot of these people come from a place of fear and worry about their livelihoods in terms of economic ramifications of the COVID-19 pandemic. To some extent, we have to strike a balance between the economy and public health. Both are incredibly important. But Prime Minister Robert Bela spoke yesterday, and he seemed pretty optimistic about the future, about 2021, saying that that the way things are moving, Malta will get a vaccine by the end of December, beginning of January, that the economy will strongly recover by March, and that by May, business will be back to usual. So it reached a point now where everyone is kind of, well, I'm sure everyone is fed up with the COVID-19 pandemic. Some people are obviously more frustrated than others. It has had more of an effect on them, whether it is health-wise or economically on their business and whatnot, resulting in some people taking to the streets and protest. But I think we have to be optimistic in this circumstance. And the Prime Minister, if we go by his rhetoric, said that by January we will start receiving the vaccine, and we should take the vaccine, and by May, fingers crossed, everything will be back to normal. But we'll have to wait and see. Just a quick update on the COVID-19 pandemic. Obviously, over the past 24 hours, unfortunate news, there have been 4 more deaths in Malta. Condolences to the family, of course. Moving on to our last story. I'm sure as many of you watched Malta's Got Talent last night, you would have seen Joe, Mike and Lyden Juice, a father and son duo who's sung in traditional Maltese, qualified to Malta's Got Talent finals, putting to bed a sip-up during their performance. And during the performance, the 5-year-old son, Lyden, had a bit of a sip-up in the second half of the song, where unfortunately he forgot the words to the song. It happens to everyone. I mean, especially if you're on a main stage like that, 5 years old. I mean, kudos to him for doing that. It takes guts, and obviously, whether it be stage fright or just the heat of the moment, he forgot the lyrics. Nonetheless, the Maltese people loved him so much that they thought his performance was good enough to deserve a spot in the finals and voted him in. They didn't mind seeing this happen, and it's very brave for a 5-year-old kid, especially a 5-year-old kid, to be singing in Maltese. It kind of brings back that whole cultural element and kind of nostalgic feel to it. So congratulations to them too, to making the finals. Did you have a watch of Malta's Got Talent last night?
Yeah, it was quite a shocking performance, I guess, in that I really felt that second-hand embarrassment for them. But I guess the judges knew what talent they had, and I'm glad they're going on to the final. So that is it for this episode of Lovin Daily. This has been your host Sam Vasala, joined by Jean-Paul Atsopardi, and have a day full of lovin'.